Good afternoon everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon with one of our live demonstrations. As it's Christmas, I figured it's time to go Christmas tree-ish. So we're going to create a Christmas tree. We have a ceramic container here which I've filled with wet oasis. We have a wet sphere which is soaked. I'm also going to use some submersible lights for the Christmas tree lights. We have a stem of blue spruce which I've cut into tiny little pieces, so they're kind of this size, and then we have some Christmas picks. These are frosted berries. Now they come on a pick, and the beauty of it is they're actually already wired into 3 sets, so they can just literally be pulled off the main stick and used. Also got some sparkly apples there already on a wire. If you can hear me loud and clear, then hit that like button, and obviously if you've got any questions whilst I'm doing the demonstration, then please ask and we'll try and answer them as best we can. Okay, so, and obviously let us know where you are this afternoon and what you're doing. Hopefully you're on mince pies and mulled wine rather than cold holly and Christmas foliage. But hey, we all have our crosses to bear. Right, so to start with, a ceramic Christmas pot. I've used a ceramic pot mostly because it's quite heavy. A good heavy base keeps a nice solid foundation for the arrangement. As I say, the wet oasis is already in there, and then the soaked cone, which I'm going to place in the middle. And I'm just taking a plant stick and literally pushing that right down the centre. That just gives obviously a little bit of stability later on. I'm just going to trim that a wee bit because it's rather long.
We've got Marilyn joining us today. She's from Whitley Bay.
Afternoon, Marilyn.
And we've also got Mark joining us from Easton.
Afternoon, Mark. Now we're just pushing those little stay sticks in at an angle just to give a little further stability. You've almost got like cross wires going on. And obviously the beauty of, I'm just going to lay my scissors on there. The beauty of having the picks on a wire, on a garden stick already, is you can actually use that as your stability. Right, so starting off at the base. Now I've divided the little pieces of blue spruce up that I'm using into slightly larger pieces and smaller pieces. What I recommend you do is just remove the bottom part of the pine needles before you place into the oasis, simply because you've got a nice clean piece of stem to go into the wet oasis, as opposed to this, which trying to feed those pine needles into the oasis is really not easy. So just stripping the lower needles.
Debbie, can you just explain to me the difference between the blue spruce and the green Normand on our site?
Okay, so I can. That's your green Normand. This is your blue spruce. So I don't know if you can see the difference. The Nordman is more of your regular Christmas tree, whereas this is your blue spruce. It has more of a grey, bluey tone to it, and it's slightly more structured in the respect that it's, how can I explain? It's a slightly more regular shape. The Nordman is a bit more fluffy and slightly more irregular. So I am actually using both varieties this afternoon. So starting off with the base of the tree, using slightly larger pieces, and obviously making it into roughly a Christmas tree shape. And starting off with almost a collar of foliage around the base. Now the lovely thing about this is, because it's in a nice container, an oasis, you can keep soaking it. So if you made it today and kept it somewhere nice and cool, it would last quite happily into Christmas and the New Year. I'd keep it somewhere, possibly maybe a garage or somewhere that's frost proof, somewhere so that it's really cool and doesn't get too warm, because obviously the warmer the environment it's placed in, the quicker it's going to fade. So that's the start. Just move my lights out of the way, and then gradually start building up.
We've got Tracy joining us from Southampton.
Afternoon, Tracy. What's the weather like in Southampton this afternoon? We've actually managed to avoid snow here so far, but I think they do forecast it for Sunday. So it's starting to add little pieces of the Christmas tree. So I'm getting that nice regular shape all the way around. As I said, I've used probably one and a half stems of blue spruce in this. Obviously cut into several little tiny pieces. And I'm cherry picking the ones that I want to use as we go along. So I'm using the slightly more branchy pieces for the base of the tree, and then graduating up to the slightly smaller pieces at the top, which is how a tree would naturally form.
In, say, a bundle of our 5 kilograms on the side, how many branches do you use to create?
Okay, so in one of our 5 kilogram bunches, you'll get between 5 and 8 stems per bunch. It's done on a weight basis, so you get some bigger bits, some smaller bits. This is just literally one stem that I've taken out one of those bunches, but it was one of the giant stems. So you may need to use between 2, maybe even 3 if you get the smaller ones.
We've got Jane, we've got Sheila from California.
Wow,
Whoop.
California!
And in Southampton, unfortunately, there is no snow.
Oh, okay.
We've
California.
got Jane, who's saying this looks like a nice design for using snow spray on. I've got a few cans that I'm wanting to use. That would look fantastic,
Perfect.
Jane.
Yeah, it would look perfect. And you can use cones, you can use berries, you can use dried fruits, spray some walnuts gold, attach those as well. Anything like that works beautifully. Anything Christmassy.
We've
Obviously
also got some spray glitter as well. I think that looked quite cool.
Yeah, we have got sparklies. And another thing that works really well is if you use cinnamon sticks, because once the warmth of the room heats up, the cinnamon will start to smell lovely and give you a real Christmassy fragrance.
We've got Marilyn joined us.
Afternoon, Marilyn. So I'm betting the weather in California this afternoon is much nicer than what we've got. So if you're enjoying the little demonstration this afternoon, then hit that like button and obviously share with your friends. And keep those questions coming. So I don't know if any of you watched our live demonstration a few weeks ago on the Christmas wreaths, but let us know if you've made your own Christmas wreaths, and please send pictures over of what you've done. We love to see what you've created, and it's really nice to know that some of our demonstrations have inspired you to make your own creations. So just adding, as you can see, the little bits of foliage all the way around. Now you can see how the different varieties of the Nordman and the blue spruce work really well together.
I'll just come a bit closer so I can see all them all. Just the difference between the foliage.
And there's no reason why you can't use various foliage out of your garden. You could use holly, you can use ivy, you could use buxus. Any of the evergreen foliages would work really well. Even conifer would work. So it doesn't have to be a foliage that you buy. Do, however, if you're using foliage grown in your garden, do make sure that you condition it well before you work with it. So give it a good 48 hours conditioning before you start to arrange an oasis.
I've got Diana asking, other than the traditional floral arrangement accessories, cinnamon cones and oranges, can you suggest any different types of decorating accessories?
Okay, so as regards, so if we go non-traditional, you could use Christmas baubles, you could even use tinsel, make it look like a real Christmas tree. Red roses dotted around would look lovely, some little tinsely bows, sparkly bows. You could also use, we have a really lovely Christmas rope that you could loop round. You could
use something like pussy willow.
Absolutely.
That would work really nicely.
Or even the pheasant feathers that I used previously. I can show you how you could use pheasant feathers in a moment, actually. So you can see I've started to bring in some of the greenery to the very top as well. Now, what I will just warn you about is just be a little bit careful when you start placing foliage in the top, because the top part of the cone is very delicate. It's very soft. It's quite fine at the top, so just be quite gentle how you place that in. We don't want to lose the top of our tree.
No.
And then gradually, as we add a few more pieces in, we'll bring the two parts of the tree together. If I turn that round, you can see how I'm starting to bring the two ends of the tree together in the middle. Yeah, you could do little loops of pheasant feathers around. That would work really well. You could use proper fruit if you wanted to. Wire up real apples and real oranges.
I'll look for inspiration in a forestry room now.
The wheat would look quite nice, sprayed as well, gold, sparkly. Yeah, so to be fair, the options are endless. You could, if you've got in the garden, if you've got an old hydrangea plant that's now starting to look a bit faded and the blooms are a bit dried, you could take the blooms, wire those up. As they're dried, you could then spray them gold. That would look really nice. We did that on one of our other demos with the bottle. Sprayed some hydrangea.
Yes, we did.
So wire up little tiny pieces of gypsophila and sparkle the gyp. That would look quite nice. As I say, the options are really endless. Obviously, it's nice to have a little bit of sparkle at Christmas, but if you want to keep it slightly more traditional, then perhaps Hessian, raffia, that kind of thing works well. So you can see how nearly created a tree. Adding the last few final touches to the foliage. You see, it doesn't take that long to create something like this. So if you've decorated your tree at home, let us know. Again, send us pictures in. Anything that you've decorated on the tree could actually be used in a similar way. Nearly finished this. So putting the last few pieces in. Now, what I would recommend you do to keep this as fresh as you possibly can, just keep it well watered. So if you've got it in a warm room, perhaps when you go to bed, just before you go to bed, pop it into a cooler kitchen, just pop it on the draining board, pour a jug of water over it so it has a good old drink overnight, and then replace it again the next day, just so you keep it nice and fresh. There we go. I think I've got a couple of little gaps there. So you could leave it as a tree if you wanted to, without any trimmings at all, and just put lights on. Just for the benefit of the lady that rang earlier, or spoke earlier I should say, if you wanted to, you could add little bits of feather. So,
would you need to wire the feathers?
Yeah, you'd need to wire that part to go in.
What type of technique would you use?
I would use just, if I show you, this is a 71, yeah, this is a 360 by 71 wire that I've cut in half, and then you just bind the wire around the end of the feather. I'll be better off putting it in that way, so bear with me, and then just loop the feather in. And you could do that, just add those in all the way round. Feathers are £2.95 for 10 on our website at the moment, so really good value. And then you could add some of the wheat in as well.
We've got Elspeth who's just joined, and she says, have you wired the stems of the blue spruce into the oasis?
No, literally just cut them and pop them in. But I did mention earlier just removing the lower pine needles, just so you've got a nice smooth transition for the stem to go into the oasis.
Would there be any benefit to wiring them in?
It's not necessary really.
No.
It's just going to cause you a lot of extra work really.
You don't really need to.
Absolutely. So you can see the kind of impression that you get by just adding a few little feathers and some wheat. So that's one option, keeping it very rustic. I'll just remove those, so it's not kind of the route I'm going down. Now these are the submersible lights, which I've just managed to switch off quite happily. Let me move those off. Just remove that. Okay, so now I've used submersible ones simply because obviously there's going to be a little bit of water around on these. There we go. So you can tuck the battery pack into the back of the arrangement. There we go. And then starting like you would with a Christmas tree. Oops. Literally placing that in the top. I'm using German mossing pins just to hook that in, and then bringing and then I'm just hooking each little light in with a German pin. Now the reason why I'm doing it with the lights on is you can then get a better idea of how they look and how well they're spread out.
Is it with your Christmas tree? Do you put your lights on first or last?
Now you see, I always put mine on first.
I do as well, and I always turn them on because, as you say, just to double check they work as well.
Absolutely, you don't want to be putting your lights on and then find they don't work.
The hassle of taking them off again.
Yeah, no, I always put lights on first, and I make sure they're switched on, like you. You can get a better idea of balance then.
Very true. Have we got anyone in the audience that puts their lights on their Christmas tree last? Comment below.
And something I found quite interesting talking to one of my colleagues earlier on today, do you use the same trimmings year after year after year, or do you buy new every year? One of my colleagues does a different colour theme every single year, and she buys new for that every year. mine, I have to be honest with you, are a collection that have been bought for me over the years. Some that were my great-grandparents, and some that were my grandparents, and some that were my mum's, and they've been handed to me, and I just put them on year after year, and each little bauble or each little bit has a memory for me. So I do that every year. They all come out and I think, oh yeah, that came from my grandmother, that came from my mum when I did that. So yeah, for me, every little trimming has a memory.
Yeah.
So rather than replacing them every year, but everybody has their own ideas.
Especially as you grow up, your kids as well make you, or family and things like that, they make you certain baubles that always have to go on the tree.
Yeah.
I know we've got a few in the family.
Even if they're...
That you have to, even if they're bright pink or a very fun Christmassy colour, they always go on the tree.
Yeah, because you can guarantee if little Johnny comes round and finds that his favourite Christmas trimming that he made you 20 odd years ago isn't there, it's going to be trouble. Okay, so you can see how those little lights completely transform that little tree. Whoops, I've just switched them off. Let me try that again. There we go, that's better. And where's my front? Okay, so now just to finish off with, I'm just going to add a few little berries and a few sparkly apples. Again, all of these trimmings are available on our website. Gone very, very traditional here with the red. But as I was saying, following on from a comment from one of our listeners or one of our viewers this afternoon, there are so many options that you can trim the tree with. Now, if you're very, very short of space at home, this is perhaps a suitable alternative for a Christmas tree. It could also potentially be used as a table decoration if you want something slightly different to the norm.
It's very cute, isn't it?
Cheesy, would we say?
No, not at
No?
all. Not at all. Cheesy is not the word I was about to use.
And there we go. We have, trying to find the front. Oh, it's around there. There we have our festive Christmas tree.
So top tip
Just
from
need a
Debbie
start,
today
really.
is
My colleague, you can't see what my colleague has just posted on her little notice board for me to say, but she said, make sure you work in an area where it's okay to make a mess. I think she's trying to make a point there. Thank you very much for listening this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please share with your friends and hit that like button if you've enjoyed what we've done, and do visit our YouTube channel for more tips and hints on how to make various table arrangements, Christmas arrangements, and hints on how to get the best out of your flowers. And have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Thank you for watching. Bye.